These are 1.6 notes. Adjacent means touching. Adjacent angles have the same vertex and share a common side. So let's talk about each of these angles. So I have angle 1 in purple. Angle 2 is in red. Their vertex is their end point right here in blue. So they both share that, and they share a common wall. It's like they're neighbors and they share a wall. So these are adjacent angles because they're touching. This next group, I have angle 1, I have angle 2. They share that point and they share a wall. So these are also adjacent. Over here in this last group, I have angle 1 right here. I have angle 2 right here. Well, they share this point, but they don't share a common wall. There's this big space between them. So these are not adjacent. The next term is linear pair. A linear pair makes a straight line, and they are adjacent, meaning they share the wall. A straight line is always 180 degrees, so that means that the linear pair equals 180. So, angle 1 and 2 in this first example, they're on a straight line, and they share a wall, so that means they are what we call a linear pair. So that would mean angle 1 plus angle 2 equals 180 degrees. So if I said angle 1 was 100 degrees, we would know that angle 2 was 80 degrees. If I look at this next one though, angle 1 and angle 2, they are not on a straight line. This is not a linear pair. Our next word are vertical angles. Vertical angles are two non-adjacent, means they do not share a wall, they don't touch. Non-adjacent angles formed by two intersecting lines that form a vertex. We like to say that these angles are either back to back or across from each other. So I'm going to label this 1 and 2. So angle 1 is right here. Angle 2 is right here. They aren't touching, they do not share a wall, but they do share a vertex. So whenever they make that perfect X, they are vertical angles when they're across from each other. Vertical angles are always congruent, meaning they're equal. If angle 1 is a 20 degrees, angle 2 is 20 degrees, and we mark them with those marks like that. That also means right here, angle 3 and 4, those are also congruent. So if this is 160 angle 3, angle 4 is also going to be 160. Vertical angles are always congruent. Complementary angles are two angles whose measurements add up to 90 degrees. So I can look at this first example. I see that box. I know that means 90. So if I take angle 1, my purple angle, and angle 2, my red angle, if I add them together, they're going to equal 90. Here, I've got my red angle and my purple angle. They don't have to be touching. I know that 50 plus 40 is 90, which means they are complementary. The other term we're going to use is supplementary. Supplementary angles add up to 180 degrees. So how I remember that, I think alphabetically. C is 90. The S comes second in the alphabet. It's 180. Complementary are 90. Supplementary are 180. So supplementary angles, whenever we see an angle on a line that's a linear pair, we always know that it's supplementary because we know that a straight line makes 180 degrees. I can also have two angles just randomly, 120 and 60. 120 plus 60 equals 180, which also makes those two angles supplementary. So this page is just a review of everything we just talked about. We're going to draw examples of each one. So we'll start up top with vertical angles. Whoops, sorry. They make that perfect across from each other. And if 1, 2, 3, 4, I know that angle 1 is congruent to angle 3. Angle 2 is congruent to angle 4. Linear pairs are the ones that are on a straight line, which means they're supplementary. They add up to 180. So I know that angle 1 plus angle 2 equals 180 degrees. Supplementary angles, in the same sense, are linear pairs. Well, they can be linear pairs. So they're on the line. They can look like that. If this one's 135, this one would be 45, because 135 plus 45 equals 180. Complementary angles add up to 90. So whenever I see that box, I know it's 90. So I know that angle 1 plus angle 2 equal 90 degrees. Lastly, adjacent angles. These are the angles that always share a side. They can be equal. They're not always equal, but they always share that common wall together. All right, we are going to do the top 9 together, and then I'm going to let you do the next 5 practice on your own. So if I look at number 1, this is a vertical angle, and we know that all vertical angles are congruent. So if this side is 112, that means x is 112, because they're the same. When I look at number 2, I see that 90-degree mark. That tells me those are complementary. So I know that whole thing is going to be 90, so I just say 90 minus the part that I know, which is 68, gives me a 22. So x is going to equal 22. On number 3, I look and I see that straight line. We know that a straight line is supplementary, which means it's 180. So I take my whole thing, 180, I subtract the part I know, and that gives me a 56. So x equals 56. All right, this one we're going to have to put 2 steps together. So the first thing, let's figure out y. If this side is 43, we know that y is a vertical angle, so we know that y also equals 43. Now, I want you just to look at the purple section. Ignore the bottom. I see that this is on a straight line. So I know that the straight line is 180. So if I take 180, I subtract the 43 we got for the y, that's going to equal the x, the missing one. 180 minus 43 is 137. So we know that x is 137. And we know that x and z are vertical angles, so they're equal. So that means z is going to also equal 137. Number 5, we need to find x, y, and z. Let's again start with y, because it is a vertical angle. So I know that y, is going to equal 72. That one's easy to figure out. We also know that this part makes a right angle since the other side makes a right angle. So I can say 90 minus 72 will equal z. Well, 90 minus 72 is 18. So Z equals 18. To figure out what X is, let's look. We have a straight line. We know that Y is 72. So I just say 180 minus the 72 gives us 108. So X equals 108. All right, number 6 has words, but it's not evil. We're going to draw a picture. It says that angle 1 and angle 2 are vertical angles. So I'm just going to write a 1 and a 2. So they're vertical. If the measure of angle 2 is 105, how much is angle 1? Well, they're congruent, so it's 105. Number 7, angle A and B are complementary angles. Complementary means they add up to 90. So we draw our angle, and we got A and B. It says that A is 42. So we're looking for B. We say 90 minus 42. That gives us a 48. So B equals 48 degrees. Number 8, P and Q are supplementary. That means they're on a straight line. So draw a straight line, give it a line, call one side P, one side Q. All right, if Q is 64, find P. Our whole thing is 180. We take away the part we know. That gives us 116 degrees for P. Number 9, 1 and 2 form a linear pair. Well, we know that a linear pair is a straight line. We got 1 and 2. Okay, if angle 1 is 113, find angle 2. Well, we know the whole thing is 180. We subtract 113, and we get 67. So angle 2 equals 67.